It's Monday, July 28th. Let's level up. Obviously a big week with the Fed on Wednesday. We have PCE on Thursday and a jobs report Friday. Big earnings also this week. On Wednesday, we have Microsoft, Meta, and Lam Research. And then on Thursday, we have Amazon and Apple. So things are definitely heating up. I call this week Murderer's Row because we have the Exxon and Chevron on Friday. By the way, if you ever want to know which the big earnings week is, it's always the one that has Exxon and Chevron on the Fridays. VIX is hovering around range lows, which tells me it's a good opportunity to hedge, particularly if there's any move back over 1570 to 1623, and then a confirmation over 1702 for still higher volatility. As of now, I'm a little concerned coming into these big events with still low volatility. Yes, it could still go lower, don't get me wrong, but it would be a little bit more comforting if some of the protection was in place. Big gap up in the futures thanks to the European Union trade deal. So we have a new high in an overnight session. Usually for a good high, quote unquote, they have to happen in an RTH session. It doesn't mean that there can't be a liquidation break, even a sizable liquidation break, but I'd be very surprised if the all-time highs are now in. Generally, I'd feel better with the ES back over 64.39.5, and the Qs need to maintain 23,529 plus. Those were the intraday bounce highs. Those need to clear and hold for still higher prices. Below to me is a little bit iffy. We did repair the rich close from Friday at 64.17 quarter. We didn't quite do it in the Qs at 23,413. We actually have another rich close below there that needs repair at 23,234. So mark those off on your chart for potential support if there is a larger liquidation break. As far as SPY goes, we're just riding the channel high here. I like trailing up stops to prior day lows. So if that was today's, it would be 635.54. Pullback could be to 631.54 to 630.23, which is the reference high from back on 721 and the 10 MA. Those levels need to hold, or we could see the 20 MA at 626.14. Generally, 20 MAs have been right or right out buy points, but they must hold from first tests from all-time highs. From lower highs, I'd be careful. Ultimately, there could be a larger pullback to retest the big breakout at 613.23. So if you're doing some kind of a put spread or ratio and you want to target that level as your lower strike, maybe a little longer dated for fall type of action, I like that. On the upside, we could still be targeting the 658.82 two times range. As far as Qs go, similar situation, just climbing here on this magenta channel high. I think you could use 566.87 as a stop. If we did pull back, the 10 MA would be the first target at 562.58. That has been a hold multiple times now. Could see an overshoot to 557.90 and rising, which is the 20 MA. Those levels need to hold, or we could come down to the 552 area. On the upside, if we were to do the magenta channel high, we'd be at 578, probably closer to 580 by the time we'd get there. And then the apples to apples, 2.618. On the upside is 598.24. We're over the two times range in the Qs, which was 552.01, so that's why I cited that as potential support on the downside. I think Apple could be a good catch-up trade here. I do like that it's consolidating here over the 214.66. We have seen pushes into there and have rejected, but the rejections have been rather shallow. The 20 MA, which is key by the dip level type support, is at 211.27 and rising, so we're getting closer to that catching up to actual price, and I think that could be the ultimate catalyst to push it through. It may take earnings, but if we are playing for that, that would be 223.89, which would be the 4-2 gap fill, and I see resistance between there and 225.38, which is of course the 61.8 of the range. We're currently pressing up against the 50% fib, which is the 214.66, but I do like that it has held higher on dips. Remember, the 208.42 had been areas where it couldn't support before. Now it is supporting, so that's why I like it. NVDA new all-time highs. Sort of hard for the market to get too bearish with NVIDIA making new highs. It carries the AI trade higher. Channel high is now 181.83. I think anything back below 174.24 could be a right or right out short, but ultimately, if it doesn't get below there, it's still fine. ServiceNow was one of the ones that had reported and then had a pop and flop, but it is kind of consolidating here at an interesting level. Bulls need to get over and stay over the 50 MA, currently 1,000.87, so let's just say 1,001 for good measure. The dip today was bought at the 200 MA, so that to me makes a good stop. If you're long at 976.77, anything below that could see the 10 MA quickly 967.59, which was the drop low from Friday. If that breaches, I think we could be in for a much larger leg lower to the 930-ish area, which is the 100 MA. On the upside, we'd obviously be retargeting some of the after hours highs closer to 1,050 if we were able to get a move back up, but it seems like it's content here for a little bit more chop. IBM, they're trying to give it a ride. This was a dump on earnings. I think if you're long, you could use the 100 MA as a stop at 260.75. If you want to give it a little bit more room to hang itself, 259.61, which was low of day. On the upside, I think we could see 269.33, which is the 38.2 of the range, meaning 38.2 retracement. If we were to make it to the 50%, that's 274.46, but I think that area is going to be kind of the end of the range. I don't think it's going to be a clean gap fill here. Tesla, nice little move up. I think it's fine as long as it can hold 325.10 to 319.03. Anything below 319.03 I think is a right or right out short. Bulls here, we're able to get it up to very close to the 331.05, which was the bounce high on 626. I thought that that was a good end range target. If it were to keep going, channel high here could take us up to 341.45. After that, it's 351.39 to 357.54. Bitcoin still consolidating up here, nice high and tight, bull flag type of situation. We do technically have a little excess on the Genius Day spike on 714. If we were to go to channel high tomorrow, which we probably won't, that would be 131,445. I do think we could make it up to the channel high here, so just stay frosty with that. Don't let it get below 115,635 on you now. Generally speaking, markets are using up moves to lock in some gains ahead of big earnings and the Fed decision, and of course the PCE and jobs report. Makes sense to take a little risk off the table, particularly at all-time highs with gap ups. However, dips have been bought. You did see toward the end of the day, people, I think, did play intraday short. They covered into the close, and I think there was just some natural buying as well. We're going to have a Fed day range that we can trade. Hopefully it's a decent size one that we can use on Wednesday. Sometimes it's the Fed day plus one. Often we get a move one day on the Fed and then it's completely reversed the next. So I usually like to do the Fed day plus one, but generally anything above the Fed day high I believe is a long. Inside we're neutral. You could use intra range if the Fed day range is large. You could use the Fed day VWAP. Above that is incrementally more bullish, incrementally more bearish below it, and then just outright short below the Fed day low. Like and follow for more.